Hello everybody, it's Joel from Silver Arrow Cars, and here we are again with a beautiful 60s European Grand Tourer. This is our 1967 Maserati Mexico 4.2. Now, you may or may not know a whole ton about these cars. They were only produced in 1966 through to 1972. I believe 1967 was the first actual model year, which is exactly what this car is. Those cars were chassised 112, that signified being a 4.2, and then the 4.7, I believe, was a chassis that 112/1, if I am correct. They built 482 of these cars. They are an all aluminum V8, 90-degree V8 with a quad dual overhead per bank cam configuration with quad Weber carburetors and mated to a ZF 5-speed transmission. Pretty cool for 1967, and makes for a really enjoyable driving experience. You know, it is a bigger Grand Touring car. At the same time, it has beautiful lines designed by Fignali, and a very cool story that goes along with that. But designed alongside and through the same design house as cars like the DB6, the 365 2+2, the 250s were designed by Fignali, and many other iconic European cars of the 60s and 50s. So these cars came with factory four-wheel disc brakes, so just like this car. They had the early cars, the 4.2s. They definitely had the Barani wire wheels, as you see on this car itself. And then a very luxurious cabin that was standard with power windows and air conditioning. This car is fitted with both. And a leather interior pointed with mahogany around the dash and around the door panels. With beautiful Smith's gauges in the instrument cluster. So very cool car, very cool story that goes along with it. This would be a well-presenting driver quality car. It's been maintained. It was originally 37 years ago when our client had first purchased the car. That's when he painted, did all the body work. That's when he had the wire wheels redone and so on. And this is still the same paint in the presentation from 37 years ago. So you're going to have some paint imperfections here and there. The interior has great patina to it, but the car still drives strong, has good compression, and presents very well. And as I said, coming out of a career mechanic's garage that he's had and loved, along with some other cars in his collection of Europeans. So I'm going to walk you around the car. I want to give you a great idea of the condition of the car. See our driving video. I've spent a couple hundred kilometers in this car, windy roads, so on and so forth, and I can tell you it is an absolute pleasure to drive. The V8 sounds amazing. Acceleration is great. 260 horsepower for back in the day out of this 4.2 liter V8. Just a very, very cool car with great styling cues, and it makes quite an impression on anybody that comes in and sees it. So when he painted this 37 years ago with his buddies that worked in the industry, they picked this color as an anthracite gray. It does present with a little bit more red or brown tones in it, but quite gorgeous. It's under some fluorescent lights here in our showroom. In the sun, it definitely comes out looking more gray. All the chrome, I believe he redid years ago. The chrome presents really well all the way around. As I said, the Barani wire wheels were refinished. There is one spoke missing on this wheel, the rear passenger. So he redid all four of the drive wheels. The spare he did not redo. The full-size Barani wire wheel spare is in the trunk, along with the tool roll, jack, fire extinguisher, and that's where your battery is located. So examples of some things you can expect, and likely the only major spots, both sides there's a little bit of bubbling here in the lower front fender. Again, this car was kept in his garage and used just as a summer driver, so this is probably going to be some of your prep work 37 years ago that's starting to come through in the paint. He says it's been like this for a number of years. That lower beltline trim, that is all in good shape. I don't have anything else major along the lines of the car to point out. On this side, a little bit of scratch that's been touched up years ago. Wheel arch trim looks really great, along with the side venting. There's another scratch here, just above the door handle. Very cool door handles. You reach in and release the door that way. Very similar to what you saw on Jensen's, which were also designed by Fignale. You can see a little bit of lifting, probably in that paintwork prep again, under this body line. One of the coolest parts of this car is this line right here, and this little notch and step up that matches this rear window. As I said before, four-wheel disc brakes. A little bit of bubbling here on the edge. I got my fingers in behind, and there's no rust or anything here. Again, I think this is probably bubbling in the surface prep work. Rear bumper chrome looks fantastic. You'll see a little bit of aging in these rear tail lights. Again, some of that paint prep work lifting a little bit on this body line, on the rear trunk. Oh, sorry, right here. And then a little bit of crack in the paint on the edge. Can you see that? Right on the edge of the trunk there. It's hard to see. Rear bumper and exhaust look fantastic. You'll see the undersides as well. And then down this side of the car, very, very straight. You'll look at those lines and how they perfectly match up through the doors. A little paint checking here. That's same as the passenger side, but belt line trim again, really great on this side. All the venting, and then coming around the front, really looks good. All the headlight bezels, high gloss and shine to them. Those indicator lights, I believe, in the front. The acrylics look really great in them. Good presentation on the chrome throughout the front bumper and the trim around the headlights and along the front of the hood. A couple marks here in the paint. We'll note that the hood color looks slightly different than the rest of the car. I don't know if that's because he repainted it at one point. All the chrome around the windows all presents really well. To me, this is all original trim, and that's what it looks like. Secure glass. I've got the windows down on the driver, the electric windows down on the driver and passenger, but I believe they're going to be your originals as well. Another emblem there on the rear glass. Secured again there. Let's just move into the interior. I will note that you'll see on the other side is that latch for the quarter window. That is broken. It does come with the car and it'll be in the car, but that does need to be repaired. Overall, on the interior, it looks really great. So this was originally a pigskin color interior, and he dyed it years and years ago. So again, the coloring and the dye or pigment is 37 years old. Some drying in the leather and cracking in the leather here on the door handle. I love this. They're in quite good shape. They're starting to get a little bit dry in the lower sections here. These are reupholstered in vinyl. Very good match in the color. He did these years and years ago, he said. Center console, there's some patina along that wear edge where an arm would be and buttons from shirts. He refinished the steering wheel, so that's clean, glossy, no nicks. The dash pad you'll see, that's all in great shape. And the mahogany throughout the car he refinished years ago. Oh, those beautiful Smith's gauges. Power windows work, all the gauges work, all the switches work. You've got your various switches here for headlights, fans, fuel pump to equalize between the two sides, and your climate controls, temperature knob. Very cool vents. Windows all work exactly the way they're supposed to, of course. Those the rear windows hinge out. Those work just the way they're supposed to. The rear seats appear in great shape. Mechanism, as I just did, is fantastic. That always breaks down on older cars. So the seating surface and the top of the backrest, they're starting to dry and dehydrate. Color and everything is good. There's no major cracks, but they are starting to show their age there. Notice a really cool headliner that matches the rest of the interior. You'll see on the far side, it matches on this side. There is your dome light. Those both function on both sides. And then that grab handle there for entry and exit for the rear passenger. So let me pop open the hood and the trunk. So you want to enter, release hood, release trunk. So being a mechanic, previous owner has had the engine out, resealed it, rebuilt the alternator, the starter, engine seals, rebuilt the carburetors, spent a lot of time and a lot of work over all the years keeping this in great driving shape and a very tidy underhood. You'll see the quad carbs underneath that big Maserati snorkel. I'll check there. There you'll see the chassis. Hopefully I don't lose my camera here. AM112. There you go. Original chassis tags. And that classic diamond stitch on the underhood. Let's get into the trunk. Also to note, a little bit of checking there in the paint. So I've got this piece out, it's underneath the car. But there is your Barani wire wheel full-size spare, your tool roll, your fire extinguisher, battery, and then under here, this is where you're going to find your two fuel pumps that equalize the fuel levels between the two tanks. Pretty neat feature for back in the day. Oh, and there goes my gimbal. Pretty cool feature for back in the day. So there you have it. our 1967 Maserati Mexico 4.2, chassis number 112008. Selling no reserve out of Blaine, Washington on an Ohio title. So American bidders, we can get the car anywhere it needs to go. Please ask us for shipping quotes if you do require that. Generally from Blaine, Washington to Florida is about $3,500 US enclosed. You can use that as a bit of a gauge, but please reach out if there's anything we can do to help. We certainly will. But a very, very cool car. They, like I said, they only produced 482 of these V8 quad cam 5-speed transmission cars, and I can tell you, and hopefully it picks up in the driving video, such a pleasure to drive and such a cool car with great history.